Hi, I'm Cheryl and I work for Strabag as part of SCS Railways. I'm going to give a brief overview of the Smart Permit to Dig system we're implementing at SCS Railways, which utilises Esri's Survey 123. First, a quick overview of the project. So SCS Railways is a joint venture between Skanska, Costain and Strabag, which was formed to work on Phase 1 of the HS2 project. HS2 Phase 1 is from London Euston to Birmingham Curzon Street. And SCS Railways is responsible for the S1 and S2 contract areas. And generally speaking, this is the tunnels and track between Euston and West Ruislip. So what is a permit to dig? Basically, before anybody breaks ground on any site, a valid permit to dig is required. And this permit confirms that the personnel are aware of what lies beneath the surface of the ground in the dig area, specifically utility assets, and that all necessary precautions have been taken. There's a big problem with utilities data in the UK in that utility assets are not mapped by the Ordnance Survey, and there's no official central organisation who maintains a comprehensive database of all utility assets. Therefore, the data comes from a variety of sources, including the utility companies themselves and GPR surveys or utility surveys undertaken on site. The data we receive comes from at least 20 different sources, and the quality of that data varies from one company to the next. Immediately, the benefits of using GIS to visualise this data are apparent, the ability to filter the visibility of layers being a prime example. Alongside the huge advantage of being able to visualise the data via a web map are the added benefits of increased efficiency, the use of the latest datasets at your fingertips, and, we would hope, lack of confusion. The original paper-based permit required printing and chasing people for signatures. It needed to be accompanied by a set of utilities maps covering datasets from a variety of sources, including utility companies, site surveys and DERs, to name a few. These datasets would consist of multiple paper maps which needed to be used in cooperation with each other. Using a smart permit to dig, the signatures are digital and the utility information is presented via various layers in a web map. Webhooks are implemented to send emails automatically to the next person in the process, and the entire process is intended to be paperless. A permit log is generated automatically when a permit application is started, and all data is immediately visible in an interactive dashboard. To give a high-level overview of the process involved and the platforms used, ArcGIS Online was used to create user accounts and groups, and each user was assigned a group according to their role on site. We have 4 groups for different user roles: permit raisers, authorised people, supervisors and responsible people. The surveys are then shared with the appropriate group. In this way, the site workers only see those survey forms which are relevant to their role. Survey 123 Connect was utilised for creating the surveys. The idea was to mimic the paper version of the permit to dig as near as possible. The master survey, which entails all parts of the process, was split to reflect the part of the survey applicable to each user type. Here we can see the hierarchy of the design. This diagram illustrates the structure of the survey and how each role has different access to various parts of the form. Webhooks created in Microsoft Power Automate trigger events to send an email to the next person involved in the process of approving the permit, as well as updating the permit register. And throughout the process, an interactive dashboard in ArcGIS Online is available for personnel to interrogate the current status of permits. So let's have a look at the Smart Permit to Dig in operation. The permit raiser would open the survey and choose to collect data. Then they complete the form as required. The permit number is auto-generated using a combination of the date and site area and can be used as a UID for each permit. And dates are populated automatically according to constraints set up in the spreadsheet in Survey 123 Connect. A geoshape question is used to collect the permit area. The question is linked to a web map containing all the latest utility data. And we've included some JavaScript functionality in the form to detect when a permit area being collected overlaps with an existing permit. Here you can see the overlapping permit areas listed, so the user could then go back in and redefine the permit area accordingly. Following feedback from site engineers, we implemented a way that the utility map can be marked up with relevant comments. It basically takes a screen capture of the map area, then allows for text and graphical input. This markup file is included as an attachment in the email sent to the subsequent person in the process, and also available on the dashboard and on the Survey 123 website. During the design of the survey, the fields have different constraints or restrictions placed upon them when necessary. For example, certain questions are visible only when a specific option is selected in a previous question, or options available in a Select 1 question are filtered with an additional choices field. In this form, all questions are categorised as required, so nothing can be omitted. The survey will not submit if there are any missing answers. The surveys are designed to try to make them as user-friendly and fail-safe as possible, and the conditions set in Survey 123 help to facilitate this. As you can see here, the design of the survey can be customised to fit in with corporate colours and include company logos. Once all the fields are completed, the permit raiser selects the relevant authorised person from the Select 1 question. These options are filtered according to the current user site area, so people in Area West only see personnel in that area. At the end of the form, the permit raiser signs the form and submits the survey. Again, the signature question is saved as an attachment and available to view on the Survey 123 website or the Smart Permit to Dig dashboard. On submission of the survey, the webhooks created in Microsoft Power Automate are triggered. These webhooks automatically update the permit register with a new record showing that a permit application has been raised. It contains fields populated with attribute values from the survey. They also trigger an event to send an email to the person selected by the permit raiser as the authorised person, or the next person in the application process. This email advises the recipient that they are required to complete their part in the application process. It contains any attachments such as markups added on the survey form, and has links to the Survey 123 website, Survey 123 app, and a link to the dashboard showing the status of all permits raised. The dashboard includes an embedded element showing the Survey 123 form, including the attachments. The items on the dashboard are linked and respond to each other. Filters operate when items are selected. You could choose just to look at permits in Area East and then further filter based on whether the permit is closed. You can select a permit area on the map or on the list and the relevant Survey 123 form opens. For example, when you select a permit number in the list, the map zooms to that permit and the survey item updates. The maps allow for simultaneous viewing of different layers and with alternative base maps, and there's a link to the permit report PDF. Once the authorised person receives an email notification stating that there's been a new permit raised which needs their authorisation, they would open Survey 123 and refresh their inbox. Notice that the survey available for the authorised person is Form B1 rather than the permit raiser, Form A. Having selected the relevant survey, they would then proceed to complete their part of the form. The permit area can be viewed by the authorised person, who then continues to either authorise or reject the permit, and select the supervisor who needs to be notified that they need to complete their part. All questions completed by the permit raiser are now tagged as read only, and there's an additional section for the authorised person to complete. The same approach is also apparent in the supervisor's form. They can see all of this form plus an additional part for them to sign. Once complete, the authorised person submits the survey, which triggers a different webhook, notifying the permit raiser whether the survey has been authorised or rejected, as well as the supervisor that there's a new survey for them to sign. The supervisor then signs the form in the relevant place and notification is sent to the responsible person. They then open the survey and complete their section. I've pre-populated some of the questions to save time for this demonstration. Repeats are utilised to enable the addition of personnel, and the signature box is only available if certain answers to specific questions are fulfilled. Once the survey has been approved by the responsible person, a permit report is generated, again using a webhook, but this time in Integramat, which is an alternative to Microsoft Power Automate. This is due to the fact that Integramat includes the Create a Report functionality, whereas at the moment Power Automate doesn't. This was a relatively simple process using Survey 123's ability to upload a custom template in Word format. The answers to the questions are loaded from attribute values from the survey, and the final output is a replica of the paper permit. Finally, when the responsible person is ready to close the permit, for example they are ready to backfill or the permit is about to expire, they need to open the survey from their sent box, then complete their final sign-off of the permit. Notice how when the user selects yes to certain questions, it opens up additional options on the form. These initially hidden fields have a relevant clause attached to them in Survey 123 Connect. Once signed off by the responsible person, the permit is returned to the permit raiser to conclude the process and close the permit. And once closed, its symbology will update on the Smart Permit to Dig dashboard. This essentially rounds up the Smart Permit to Dig process.
SCS's Smart Permit to Dig system gives engineers the chance to see all utility data from the worksite.
Personally, I feel that the biggest advantage of the Smart Permit to Dig is in bringing together various elements of the Esri suite in a dashboard. which is on hand at all times to visualise the latest data and interact with the information collected in the field using Survey 123. At any time, it is possible to open the dashboard and select a specific survey from the list or on the map and interrogate the data submitted with the permit application. Who raised this permit, for example, or when does this permit expire? The maps allow you to ask questions such as, are there any water mains in the area of the permit? The elements in the dashboard provide access to visualising data in a way which answers your questions. The dashboard provides an intuitive interface for personnel from all areas to interact with and unites information from datasets from a variety of sources.